Okay, we're rolling. I mean, we're recording this, but I'm also live streaming. That's the more important part. Welcome to YouTube, everybody, here on it's Tuesday night. The holiday, no baseball on Labor Day really throws me off. But here we are, and I am going to get to some Q&A later on with this video. But I actually want to begin while things are ramping up. I want to get this out of my system. I feel like the A's have been through more than their share of gut punches this season. Now, any good team is going to have adversity. I mean, bad teams have a lot of adversity too, but good teams go through stuff as well. Losing games they shouldn't, losing players to injury or other situations. But it does feel like, and specifically it feels like since mid to late June, the A's have gone through more of their share of just really unfortunate situations and sequences. And like I said, losing games is one thing, but how you lose them is another. And then losing players for the course of weeks or the rest of the year, that's also a totally different situation. So let's go all the way back to mid-June. The A's were on a roll. I think they had won something like 7 of 9 games. They go into New York and they take the first game. No surprise. They're playing well, and the Yankees weren't. Remember Aaron Boone? There was talk about his dismissal and big changing of the guard in the Bronx. Quite the opposite now. But the A's in the next day, on Saturday, they give up a late homer, lose that game. And then on Sunday, they're trying to win the game, I think in extra innings. Was that extra innings when Aroldis Chapman came in to close it out for the Yankees? A's load the bases, nobody out. He cannot find the strike zone to save himself. And unfortunately, I mean, how many times do you see this? Sean Murphy hits into a triple play. I mean, lines one right at Urshela, 5-4 triple play. That's how the game ends. That's how that series ends, 2-1, favoring the bad guys. And then right after that, on the heels of that, you're on a road trip. And by the way, what am I doing here? 10 situations of how we got here. How the A's basically went from a team that was atop the AL West, like 19 games over 500. Then they were, once a wild card team, and that was fine. You wanted them to be in the division, then they were a wild card team. And now, for a while, actually, they were outside of a playoff spot looking in, but they were the only team in wild card contention. And now they're surrounded by the Mariners and the Blue Jays, teams that they could have shut the door on even in the last week and a half alone. So I go back to mid-June. That Yankees series for me is what kind of started off all of this. And like I said, losing games is one thing, but the way they lost was really the statement there. Then they lose 2 of 4. They split the series against the Rangers in Arlington, but come on, that's one that, they were already 20 below 500. That's unfortunate. How about losing 3 of 4 to Seattle the weekend in late July, 22nd through the 25th? But not just that. Now, here's something else, kind of out of your control. They lost 3 in a row by single runs to the Mariners. I mean, just take those 3 games back alone or alter those, even alter one a bit, and you see how this would look a lot different right now. I mean, look at Seattle. Look at their run differential right here. A negative 55 compared to the A's positive 56, and yet here these two teams are both, 3 and 3+ games back of the second wildcard spot. This is what makes it uncomfortable right now for the A's. It's the fact that there's competition showing up. It's the fact that time is now running out, 25 games to try and, correct this, alter this, get it back in a favorable position. But yeah, things got a lot more complicated. Let me go into more gut punches. Losing Trevor Rosenthal for most of the season coming out of spring training. That was a big deal, right? It was the first week of April. The A's were losing, and now he's going to be shelved. He needs surgery. So he gets it. Makes his comeback. And then you find out in, I want to say July, turns out he has a separate injury. He's not going to pitch at all this season. The A's are down their closer, the one they planned for all year. I'll skip a little bit here. How about other players they've lost? Chris Bassett, the freak comebacker in Chicago, the last time these two teams were playing. You never want that from a human perspective, but you certainly don't expect that from the baseball strategy perspective, losing your ace, losing your Cy Young conversation pitcher, one of your leaders, the Laureano 80-game suspension. That hurts the A's in this regular season, in this postseason, if they can qualify, and in the start of next regular season. And then Stephen Piscotty, who has had the wrist injury, who is now out for the season because of the surgery. But to me, losing him for the rest of the year isn't as much of a blow as him not being able to be right all of this year. So I literally just named 2 regular outfielders, your starter and your closer, all taken away from this team. Now, again, other clubs are dealing with adversity too. This is part of, the fatigue of 162 games. Stuff happens. But let me go into more gut punches that the A's have survived this year. How about that Giants series, August 20th through the 22nd? How about the 2 games they lost because they had late leads, but Giant pinch hitters in the 7th, I want to say 7th and 8th innings respectively, hit homers against the A's bullpen that put them up for good and took 2 out of 3 in that series. When do you ever see that? Back-to-back days, the opponent goes yard in the 7th or 8th innings to take away leads, and then that's it? You don't see it often. By the way, you don't see this camera often enough either. I forgot to put this one up here on the live stream, but it's here. I just wanted to say hi. And then most recently, you play the Mariners for 2 games, August 23rd and 24th. Couldn't close those ones out. I mean, and again, here Seattle is, and you get swept by Toronto, and now all of a sudden Toronto leapfrogs you, and here they are. And my goodness, look at that run differential. I'm not taking anything away from the Blue Jays. To be perfectly honest, I'm not surprised that these guys are here. I am a little bit surprised that Seattle has persisted. And also this, Seattle at the trade deadline, they sent away Kendall Graveman, their closer. What's the statement made by that team at that point? Like, hey, good luck, guys. We're going to take away this huge piece, get something for the future, but you don't have the guy who's been closing games successfully for you this year because, we traded him to Houston, another divisional team. They traded him away. So my point in saying all of this, it's not poor A's. It's also not to say that their season is done. This video is not their obituary by any means. But this video is to say that they have gone through a lot of adversity, more so than any other season I've covered probably. And that includes 2014 when it was just a slide. There was the Lester for Cespedes trade, and there was just kind of a slide. And there were a few other things that happened, but I don't recall that team going through as many hurdles as we've seen this group. Seems like a constant. Every week there's something, whether it's how they play, how the results come in, what news happens, and they've still got a chance. So all of these things, in my opinion, I'm presenting them because we're trying to figure out how we went from, the A's leading the division to this, but also how much sweeter it would be if the A's in their final 25 games can make this time count, can make this push, and can get into a postseason and do some damage like we know they're capable of. Certainly Bob Melvin the other day, his comments were not out of line at all in saying that he's got a ton of confidence because he knows this group, he knows what they're capable of, and they have not shown that specifically yet. So there you go. I wanted to rant on that a little bit. I wanted to get that out of my system. How did we get here? Well, that's how the A's got here. And now it might be time for, a little Q&A session. So let's dive right in. Nice shirt. Thanks. I'm riding the wave. But see, I feel like the wave has been so high for the A's at times this year, a 13-game win streak, a 7-game win streak. Pretty much the months of April, most of it, May and June, you're in first place in the division. The trade deadline, you pull off one of the biggest hauls, honestly, that David Forst and Billy Beane have ever had. There have been some great moments. Getting Bassett into the All-Star game, for a long time thinking that Matt Olson was on pace to hit 40. Seems like that's kind of tailed off a little bit, but riding the wave has been like spot on the theme of this year. It just feels like right now we're in one of those undertows as I watch the first inning of tonight's game between the A's and White Sox. And this is a pivotal series. You're just coming off the Blue Jays, having lost 3 the way you did. This is not any easier than that. Now, the next 3 series after this are non-playoff caliber teams. But again, this is when the A's need to make their push here and now. Jason, I agree with you. 6 games against Houston and 6 games against Seattle. The problem is the A's have not fared well against either of those divisional opponents. Houston, you understand. They're good. They have been good. But Seattle has been, at certain points well below the A's in the standings this year, and the A's have just not been able to take advantage of those games head-to-head. I want to say that the A's are 4-8 against Seattle. I'm pulling it off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure that's how it stands right now. When do you think we will know for certain about Howard Terminal? End of the year, start of next season? Christopher, 2030, come on. I really do feel like, and this is all just gut instinct, I feel like there is going to be some clarity on the situation by the end of this year. Because I know that's what the A's want, but I actually think that they're going to get that to a certain degree. Because the County of Alameda, their Board of Supervisors, they're going to have to get together. The City of Oakland, they're going to have to get together on this. There are going to have to be some resolutions and some indications they'll give where they stand on all of this and what they can or cannot make work with the team. So all I'm telling you is that I truly feel like this offseason for the A's, whenever it starts, right? Hopefully a lot later than sooner, if you catch my drift, but this is actually going to be one of the most important October, November, Decembers, maybe into January for the team in their recent years, because they are inching closer to this. They don't have it locked down yet, clearly, but paying attention to it and hopefully seeing it come together more than anything else. I mean, this is one of the biggest off seasons off the field that the Oakland A's will ever have. All right, let's move on here. Big Daddy Santa Claus, it looks like with your avatar there. Oh, wait, is it not? It wasn't popped up there. I apologize. Season is over. You've been through this for so many years. Look, I'm not, here to promise you anything, but I hope they at least make it interesting. And I think that's the bare minimum that's going to happen here. Those head-to-head games against the Astros, yeah, that matters, but they're also a ways out in the division right now. Let's be perfectly clear. They're not out of any race yet, but the West is a lot harder than the wild card at this point. I don't like the wild card situation. 2018, the A's lost that game. 2019, the A's lost that game. And even 2020 last year against these White Sox. And by the way, the reason I'm pointing to over there is because the game is on TV over there. But even against these White Sox last year, the A's, they won that series of 3 games. But they lost game 1 at the Coliseum. So if it were a 1-game wild card last year, the A's would have been out 3 straight years. I hate that situation. But if that's how they have to get in, that's how they have to get in. I just saw the Josh Harrison double, just saw him score. I know the chat's a little bit behind here, but clearly, to give up a first run, to have the bases loaded there for Cap, for him to get in and out of that, I know that's not optimal, but you're just looking for things in this series to build on, to start with. You're kind of looking for a starting point here. I do feel like after the last weekend of baseball, having yesterday off was perfect, and not just from a sense of the holiday, but the timing and regroup and put everything on pause. That was one of the ugliest weekends, and to get two hit on Sunday, just not the one you want to sit on, but nice to have an off day to reset from it. Do you like the location of your office within the building. It seems like you probably get the chance to interact with colleagues walking by. So, full disclosure, this is actually a huge conference room upstairs. And that's why it's vacant right now. And realistically, even in normal times, nobody's here at 7 o'clock at night on a Tuesday. I mean, working in this conference room. So I guess this is kind of always up for grabs, but I actually, in normal times, I just have a regular old desk downstairs. But the way we do it right now, there's separation. People can utilize offices. There's office spaces downstairs. And then, of course, like right now, I'm not wearing it because, yeah, there's nobody in this enclosed room. But we're masked up here at the office. You know, as we should be. We got away from it for a small period of time, while almost everybody did, and now right back on it as of weeks ago, months ago. Honestly, this baseball season and this summer are flying by. Could I compare this season to the final weeks of 2012? It's different because 2012 had that magical ending, no doubt. But 2012 didn't have the setbacks I was mentioning before. It feels like this season, and yes, there were a few things, and Bartolo Colon was suspended at one point that year, and you felt like that was the tipping point. Well, this is where all the good goes to bad. But it wasn't. Also, that team was not truly established like these Oakland A's are. You know, this club knows they're a playoff team. They know what they're capable of. And for them not to be there in that spot now, you know, in 2012, that's fine because you're hungry and this is a magical year and good things have been happening. I'm saying this year, like a lot of bad things have been happening. More than good, and they are still, you know, 74 and 63. Here I am saying at 11 over 500 that all these 10 awful things have happened. Well, yes, they have. But I mean, clearly it's not like the A's are the Tigers or the Angels or the Royals down here. It's certainly not that situation at all. All right, let's go back to the live chat here. Need a John Belushi speech. You know, and I'm not one for the rah-rah stuff in baseball. I just don't know that it, for professional athletes, that it sets the tone. But I do know they had a team meeting a while back. They had a team meeting back in April when they had the 1-7 start. And even those things, are they guaranteed to right the ship? No, but they make it a lot easier to come to the ballpark. They make it a lot easier for the team to settle and hopefully recover. And I mean, hey, you know what? Even in a time like right now with 25 and about to be 24 games left, if they haven't had a recent talk, you know, now's maybe a good time. But again, talking about stuff and doing it, two totally different entities. Your thoughts on this rough stretch? It seems like the A's bats have come alive, but the pitching and the bullpen especially has fallen apart. And that is Gabriel. I'll go with Gabriel. Sorry, I'm just guessing here. It's one of those things this season where despite adversity, right, despite the losses and sequences of games and injuries to players, despite all the negativity, there's something going on. I apologize for my distraction. Inside the White Sox dugout. Eloy Jimenez was on the ground of the White Sox dugout. I apologize. I'm going to put this on pause here for a second. They're not stopping the game, but everybody in that dugout is surrounding him right now. Jimenez is on the ground. He was kind of floppy there for a second. I have no clue what was going on there. I apologize for the distraction, but my goodness. Possible like fainting spell? I hate to even speculate on this. Did a ball go in the dugout? Did he get hit? All right, now he's up. Oh, we got hit. It's his knee. Okay, he's grabbing his knee. I'm sorry. I did not know what was happening there. And I hate to speculate, but that was scary. All I saw was him on the ground being tended to pretty quickly. Although I would imagine guys in the dugout would have been a little bit more urgent had it been. Okay. I apologize. The A's are lucky that the Astros, Yankees, and Red Sox have been losing. A's need to start taking advantage of the situation. I mean, and you know, it's not to say that anybody's been perfect down this stretch. But yeah, I mean, look at the Yankees here. 3-7 in their last 10. Boston playing 500. The Jays are really the only ones tearing it up. Well, because they've now won 5 in a row with 3 against the A's. And I think they won yesterday too. But the Mariners are over 500. Look at the A's, 4-6. Nobody here. I mean, there's 2 teams. Look at this. Only 2 teams, the Blue Jays and Seattle, are above 500. Oh, they're showing the replay. Oh, he got drilled with a foul ball in the dugout. Holy smokes. Okay, so now I saw that. I apologize. I had no clue what had just happened there. All right, let me go back to this for 1 second here. There was a good question that I know what it was. So how do you compare this season to the final weeks of 2012? You really can't. 2 different teams, a lot of different expectations. This group knows what they're capable of, and I touched on that one. Okay, here's the one that I really wanted to get to. It's been a year where not everything is hit at the same time. You've seen the bullpen carry the load. You've seen the starters carry this team. You've seen the bats do their thing. You've seen them defensively be super sound for like 98% of the year. There were a couple spurts, a couple games in a row, multiple errors, a little sloppy. But it always has seemed like there's something at all times, one area that's kind of lacking, maybe holding them back. And obviously right now the bullpen is probably that Achilles heel, but it hasn't been that all year. And that's kind of the frustration factor, I think, too, beyond losing some of these players and losing some of these games. And when you look at the hope, right? The hope for this team and what they're made of, what their next step is, where the bar is. A lot of it is just that it all has not clicked at once for them, at least in this season. All right. Tiago, you're from Brazil. That's awesome. If the A's make it to the playoffs, do you think they have any shot to win the World Series? I feel like this with the Oakland A's. And a lot of times in different sports, you get a sense. Well, did a club just make it to the playoffs and then that's all they're capable of? I truly get a feeling like you cannot write this team's script after a wild card game. And I know 2012 and 13 did not bring tremendous fates going right to the ALDS. I get it. But that wild card game bit them in 14, 18, 19. Last year they got through it and then, faced Houston, but they at least made that Houston series interesting. It was like home run derby back and forth. My point is that looking at this group, if you get them into series, postseason series, that's where I think I've got a lot of, like, not weird confidence, but I've got a lot of crazy confidence in them. All right, let's see what else we got here. I think that might be it for now. All right, you know what? I'm gonna sign off. I'm gonna fill out my scorecard here. It's it's got precisely nothing on it right now, so I'll get to work on that. Crank out some more YouTube videos in the near future. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here for this live rendition, and I will talk to you next time.